Hey guys, welcome to another CryptoSphere video, and I'm your host, Sid Vicious. Today I'm going to go ahead and cover the potential XRP Golden Cross. We'll probably cover the XRP 2016 to 2019 correlation. And there was a little snippet of Luminous Design presenting Bearable Guy's high-rise stock photo where it had like this crane lift, and I'm going to kind of touch on that. And then there was a question, asked whether XRP would pump in June or December of 2019. And then also we can kind of touch on the Bitcoin potential bear flag that's forming on the Bitcoin market dominance chart. So right now in front of us, we already have the XRP chart. It's XRP USD on a daily, and this is on the Poloniex chart. And what I want to kind of touch on first is how I was kind of tracking this 2016 to 2019 correlation. And I'm going to kind of zoom in here. And if you've seen my previous video, and if you have not, I would recommend that you do to kind of have some good background regarding this. But we are coming up on this potential golden cross, and we'll get into that first. But I want to show you guys how we're tracking so far on these moving averages. And here, I'll show you real quick one more time, in case if you haven't noticed. I have the EMA 50, EMA 100, EMA 200, the simple moving average of a 100, the 200, I do not show that, and then the 20 weekly moving average. And so in the colors, you'll see the 50, I have the 100, and then the 200 in red. And then I'll only show like maybe the 20 here. I'm going to omit this one because I typically use this as my 200 weekly moving average on the weekly chart. All right, so as you've noticed, we did pump, quite a few days ago, and we kind of rallied, we pulled back, and we're kind of coming into this consolidation phase. And most of you have kind of realized like, hey, this is kind of following, Bitcoin's price movement right now. And it's kind of funny how when I show you this, there's a correlation with Bitcoin as well. I'm going to touch on that in a separate video, okay? Because that's going to be even more speculative, but it's really crazy. I really want to show you guys that. It's really interesting. But how we're tracking so far with these moving averages, I took a screen cap real quick of where we were in 2016, and as you can see here, we are in 2019. And I'm just going to kind of overlay this over. And I want you guys to check this out, okay? I mean, okay, this is in 2016. We kind of went down. We began a rally to, essentially head upwards, right? And I just want you to look at this, okay? Look at the similarities here. Okay, let's just track the 20. See how the 20 crossed over the 100, then it crossed over the 50, then it crossed over the simple 100, then it crossed over the 200 EMA, right? Same thing. And then here's our golden cross. So to be fair, we're only looking at like from here and over, and here is the potential golden cross. Maybe this is a fake out. Who knows? I mean, it just depends on this price if it does go up, but we're going to touch on that in a second. But let's go back to this comparison here. I mean, think about this, guys. It's being held up by this 200 like it is right here. And before it was under the 100 as resistance, and then eventually it was able to spike up above it just like it did here, and then got over the 20 and it started to rally. just like what it did here. I mean, think about that. I truly feel we are in this part of 2016. I mean, this is just quick, easy information to follow. And I know other people are saying otherwise. I'm not saying that they're wrong, and I'm not saying that I'm right. I just want you guys to see this. I mean, this is kind of interesting, right? And we're only a couple days off from this particular pattern that we're following. I mean, it follows almost exactly. I mean, almost exactly. Okay. I mean, this is like, 4 years later. Okay. Easily. So here's the golden cross coming, and it happened back then. Okay. So, does it, to you guys, does this look similar? Does it look almost exactly the same? I mean, not exactly the same, but I mean, this is pretty darn close, right? And my suggestion, or what I'm hinting at here, is, I mean, think about this. If this is really true, here's the little green window that I carved out, and okay, you see this spike right here? That happened in one day back then. That was on June 13th. Okay? June 13th. We had a death cross. I mean, technically I would call this a fake out, but all in all, to be realistic with this, I mean, it golden cross, then death cross. Okay. But what I've noticed is there's 4 death crosses and there's 4 golden crosses. And it took until the 4th one before we got this mini moon. Okay. And a lot of people are hinting or suggesting that, hey, something big is going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Well, if we followed past market structure, yeah, this was a rally that happened back then, which is kind of what it's doing now and kind of consolidating. So let's say this does go back down, then that would even really conclude, and we'll let time pass and we'll kind of track this and see if we do get our golden cross and do we get a death cross, because these golden crosses were not significant in price action. They rallied, but not like this. Okay. This one did. So one thing I want to bring up is, okay, so let's say this is following, then we should be watching when these golden crosses are happening and paying attention to these moving averages, if that is the case, right? I don't think it's going to be as simple as that, because the other fundamentals at play here is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is having major dominance with all the alts. XRP is considered an alt. It hasn't made number 1 position yet. Like I said, yet. We maybe XRP continues to rise in this type of pattern where it deviates from previous market structure. So I just kind of want to throw that out there. Do we see sudden spike? I don't see that yet, but I'm going to touch on that, and I'm going to show you right here. Okay. You see this spike right here? Okay, if I do a fib retrace from, I really don't, XRP is really hard to chart. I think a lot of people that are even more experienced than me are having trouble with this as well. But we have to be very careful about making these projections, because it's just really, people can get extremely embarrassed and humbled very quickly when trying to make projections. So I just giving you guys scenarios, the possibilities, and stuff to discuss and to consider in this case. So here we are. I'm going to do a fib retrace from high to low. Let me pull this down. Here's our low right here. And check this out. I mean, it hits the golden ratio perfectly. Okay. Right there. Just like that. Okay. So let me go ahead and delete that. Let's go back over here. And I did this earlier just to make sure if it would. And here we are. So it would be likely we could see something like that, a possible spike. You know, I'm not going to say that it will happen. A fundamental of that is the potential golden cross. But as you've seen before, it only rallied so much. So the other fundamental is Bitcoin has been pumping super hard. And on the weekly chart for it, it's super bullish. Okay, it's like super bullish. For the daily, it's pulling back. It's just kind of consolidating, right? It's chilling. And that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. And could we see something out of that because of Bitcoin? Potentially. I mean, those are my considerations in this case regarding those fundamentals. With news of what's going on in the background in regards to utility, that's a whole another fundamental that's at play. I know a lot of people are saying, I got this feeling something is going to happen. Okay, cool. Why? Why do you feel that way? I don't see any proof or evidence of why you are saying what you're saying. Okay? This is not to bash you or undermine you or anything like that. That's not where I come from. If you have something to say, whether it's going to go down or it's going to go up, then say why. I'm very fair, right? But I'm telling you, yeah, we could probably have a nice pump. What goes on beyond it, I don't know. I don't see any suggestion why it goes down immediately. I'm more on the probability of it going upwards in this case. How high? Maybe in the 50 to 60s range if we're lucky enough. And then who knows what happens after that. We need more data. Okay. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. And then the next topic is Luminous Design had presented this photo from Bearable Guy 123, and this was like I'm not really heavy on the BG stuff, but this came up, and so they were kind of presenting like, oh, this is what's going to happen. I said, maybe, I do know of this pattern. It is actually a fractal. Even Great Gatsby kind of touched on that as well. We were kind of discussing this in our Discord, but so I presented this, and it looks pretty darn close to their chart in that case. And so I did a pull out of what that looks like. So maybe this kind of preludes into that potential spike, which is about roughly 130 days from back then. And then it's about another, 281 days after that to get to the mini moon. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe Bearable Guy likes looking at charts. I don't know. I can't say that because he has not, or they have not presented that kind of detail. So I just want to share that with you. I found that kind of interesting that was kind of brought up. And, it follows that pattern. Here's this. I don't know if we're really looking into this too deep, but that was kind of interesting. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So the other thing I want to touch on is, some of these have been questions like, hey, can you touch on this? So I did. And the other one would be, would XRP pump in June or December of 2019? Well, this may be that, you know, I don't know if that is the case, but if we go back to the chart, you know, if I go back here, let's say this was accurate. Let's say this was accurate, right? So I measured 63 days out, and that would be roughly July-ish. Let me see. Actually, pardon me. I think that's the end of the downward cycle. So yeah, the down cycle. Let's measure that out. So I believe, given how these moving averages are, we would be on this guy right here. Let's measure this out. So we go from here to here, about 127 days. Let's try that out. I just want to show you manually how I'm doing this, so that way you could do it yourself. I'm looking for other people's opinions as well, if they are seeing this type of similarity here. And 27. So that's going way out there. Maybe fall season-ish for that spike. I don't know. You know, and this was brought up by Planet Crypto. He had asked, or I don't know if it's a he or she, but maybe something happens in June because of Bitcoin or this potential XRP Golden Cross. And so I hope that answers your question. Now for December 2019, you know, I can probably play with that to see if, you know, December 2019, it would be possible. Let's see what it did back then, if that was the case. So let's measure this out. If it was about that much of a time, let's say the end of December here, about 218 days. That sounds very likely. 200. I'm more leaning towards this time frame, but 200, right? I mean, there was a spike in previous market structure with the Golden Cross, so potentially. That's not financial advice. None of this video is financial advice. This is only for education and collaboration. I don't know. It's really bad for us to try to make those kind of projections or to pin a date to that. But I just want to give you the scenario of how I kind of look at that. And I'm still kind of leaning towards the beginning of next year, only because of this, you know. And as I said in my previous video, is that we will be walking through the desert, and it's going to be very boring, unless you know, utility's been activated, right? Obviously, and whether Bitcoin's dominance will bring XRP's price gradually along this heart line, if that's even possible, or along this channel. I mean, it's a possibility, right? So those are just some things to consider if that was the case. The other thing I want to bring up is the Bitcoin bear flag. I have that guy right here. So I brought this up as a question to the community on Twitter. I said, hey, if Bitcoin's dominance, does form a bear flag and drop, I mean, we'd be hitting, roughly in the lower 50s of dominance. Would that cause a alt season in this case? So that would kind of hint at XRP's price, maybe spiking along with other alts. So just want to share that with you. Just depends on where this will land. It was, when I was talking about it, it was about right here. So it's just kind of following in this channel. And at some point, it'll either continue to go sideways, but, this is a bear flag formation. So I just basically copied this. You can, wherever it will end or break out of the channel, it would suggest where it could be at. So I thought I'd share that with you. I want to kind of keep this a little bit short as possible. And like I said before, I will touch on that Bitcoin correlation with something that it just kind of blew my mind. And I want to throw some credit to Sunny Decree. He does have a YouTube channel, and when he presented that, it correlated with mine. And so I want to touch on it from my perspective. And I was trying to look for his video. If I could find it, I will. And that way you guys can see his. I just can't remember which one it was. But when I saw that, it just kind of blew me away that he even saw the same thing. So just want to say I'll touch on that in another video. But yeah, so there you go. That's a little touch point of where XRP's price is today with the Golden Cross and my perspective on that. So I want to thank you all, and I'll see you again.